Now let's move on to Egypt. Ex-President Hosni Mubarak was ousted by mostly frustrated and jobless young Egyptians who revolted against his regime. The country is still facing the escalating youth unemployment issue.
This is Cairo. It's much quieter now than it was at the beginning of the year, when hundreds of thousands of frustrated young Egyptians took to the streets. It was a revolution that toppled the government, and now, after the recent referendum, the way is clear for elections later in the year. But Egypt's underlying problems remain. 90% of jobless Egyptians are under 30 years of age. Dina El Mafdi, executive director of the Injaz Training Center, is concerned.
Hundreds of thousands are graduating every year from the education system and from vocational schools, and over 700,000 of jobs have to be created every year to meet the intake of these graduates. And it's a tremendous challenge.
And this challenge will only get greater. Throughout the Arab world, it's estimated that 51 million new jobs will need to be created over the next 10 years. 2 decades ago, Egypt was already grappling with this problem, and they decided to embark on a remarkable social experiment. Hassan Abdul Rahman used to be an accountant, but now he's one of 40,000 graduates who, over the last 20 years, have headed to the desert to farm.
A national newspaper announced that the government was trying to solve the unemployment problem for young graduates, and there were several options. One was to buy some cheap farmland that you repaid over 30 years.
Like Hassan, most of the graduates knew nothing about farming. IFAD, the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development, is helping to train them. Abdel Hamid Abdouli of IFAD explains.
We found graduates were more receptive to new ideas. With some training, we were able to introduce new varieties suitable for export. All of these things generated economic growth in the desert communities.
4 out of 10 graduates failed, but those that remained have had some financial successes. Hassan has sold his mangoes and apricots. Others supply Heinz, one of the world's largest food processors, with tomatoes. Together, they have reclaimed more than 1 million acres of land. At a time when food security is a global concern, this experiment has turned desert into productive land. And now there's a whole new economy outside of the bursting cities.
Workers come from across Egypt to work here, so it has opened a great many opportunities. People who didn't have work found a way to farm, and now business is booming.
It is unclear how this experiment will continue under the new leadership. But what is certain is that governments in the region will have to come up with creative solutions to employ their young population in the years to come.